Surah An-Nisa will just touch on just basic introduction, inshallah, and just talk about the first ayah without going into the tafsir of it, but just its relation to the whole of the surah. So it's the fourth surah in the sequence in the Mus'haf in the Qur'an. It was revealed bit later than Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Imran. They said around 6th or 7th, from 5 to 7 years after Hijrah. It came a bit later than, like I mentioned, Surah Al-Imran. Surah Baqarah was earlier. And it's called Surah An-Nisa, which means the women, right? It has 176 ayahs, according to one method of counting the ayahs. It's named An-Nisa, the women, because it deals with the subject of women in terms of a couple of things: their rights as women, their rights as women in marriage, their rights as women in inheritance, their rights and how they should be treated even as orphans. So in different situations, women are mentioned in terms of their rights, right? Generally, apart from that, the surah deals with general mu'amalat in detail, meaning relations between families, relations between husband and wife, relation between orphans and their caretakers, relations between family members, relatives, their rights, how we're meant to treat them, how they're meant to treat us, etc., etc. So a lot of it is to do with, yes, clear theme about women's rights and how they're meant to be treated and what rights they have in different circumstances. But a lot of it's to do with relations, believers' relations with each other, as communities, as relatives, as society as well. And in Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives more detailed rulings than, say, Surah Al-Baqarah. A lot of things that are mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah in general summary form in the ayahs, in Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions them a bit more in detail. So the detail that's not there in Surah Al-Baqarah in terms of the precise rulings. Surah An-Nisa expands on a lot of those rulings. The reason being, it's a later surah. In Medina, the believers are now settled down. They're more safe, if you like. There's structures in place. There's some kind of stability in the Muslim community, and therefore now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving more detailed rulings of how to maintain an Islamic society and what are the relationships between each other. And that's why Islam is a complete way of life. If you look at Surah An-Nisa, it's not dealing, it does talk about prayer, fasting and zakah and other things here. I mean some of the pillars of ibadat, it does mention that. There will be mention of that. But the major aspect of is mu'amalat, dealing with other people. And this is why Islam is a complete way of life, as they say. It's a phrase often overused, but it is a complete way of life. We have to, as believers across our communities, across the globe, believers have to recognize and have to understand that Islam is not just about prayer and fasting and hajj and just the ibadah, 5 pillars, that's it. No, if you look at these surahs, go and look at Surah Nisa, very detailed rulings to do with orphans, to do with wives, to do with children, to do with inheritance, who gets what, division of wealth, right? To do with business, commerce, how to deal with each other, to deal with forgiveness, characteristic, adab, akhlaq. All of these things are there. This is part of Islam. This is same command. It has the same value as the command to establish salah. Same, there's no difference. Al-amru lil-wujub. In usul al-fiqh they said the command is for obligation. The command means min al-amr. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands something, He said, do this, if'al. Do this. It's a command. It means it's fard, it's wajib. So whether He commands you to do salah or commands you to divide your inheritance according to Sharia, it's the same value. There's no difference. If you don't listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in salah, the same sin you are committing, you're going against the command of Allah, the same sin you are committing if, when it comes to inheritance, you don't divide your estate according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided the guidance and according to the shares that each of your inheritors are due. There's no difference. Same with treating orphans, same with treating people under your responsibility, same with treating husband and wife in the marriage, same with after divorce. All of these rights, this Surah Nisa talks about, we have to understand as believers, and this is one of the biggest misunderstandings our communities have. We just think Islam is in the masjid, it's about salah, fasting. Outside the masjid, we can run our communities and countries and societies according to any law. Doesn't matter. No, the Quran says it's all same. It has to be same. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, whoever does not rule by, judge by, give a ruling by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed, the Qur'an, they are either kafirun, zalimun, the oppressors, disbelievers, fasiqun, rebellious, wrongdoers. And this applies to all of the rulings. It's not just salah or fasting or zakah, no, everything. Contracts, business, economics, not going into riba, not trading in haram businesses, all of it's the same. The amr lil wujub. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands is wajib, is fard, obligatory. So this is very important to understand. And Surah Nisa, that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins the first ayah just يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اتَّقُوا رَبَّكُمُ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala start with this? First, He's putting in your mind that you see all of the diversity, all of the people around you, your relatives, your neighbors, people from other faiths, other communities, other tribes, other countries. They all come from what Allah said, "O people, have fear of your Rabb who created you from one soul." You are one family. So all of in Surah Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give you directions how to deal with this person, that person. You're going to think, he's not my family, I can treat him the way I want. Or he's not my own son, or he's not my own daughter, she's not my own daughter, or my own brother, or this person's not related to me. I can treat them the way I want. No. اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة. He's reminding us, he's starting off with the introduction that you are all created from one soul. وَخَلَقَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا. And he created from that soul its mate, Hawa. The first soul is Adam alayhi salam. نَفْسٍ واحدة, they said, is Adam alayhi salam. Not evolution, coming from somewhere else. Adam alayhi salam, وَخَلَقَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا. And from that soul, from Adam alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created his wife, his mate, his spouse. So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds the believers that you're all coming from one father, one mother. All mankind is one. And therefore, it's more befitting for the believers to implement the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that encourage and promote good relations within families, within relatives, within communities, within society. Everyone has rights. They're all your family. They're all coming from one nafs. And not only that, not only reminding us, but this is, the Mufassirun said, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking you to ponder, this is ajib. All of these billions of people coming from one nafs. This is amazing. This is the qudra, the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Reflect on that. You came all from one nafs. Every single human being that exists today, that has existed after Adam alayhi salam, they all came from Adam alayhi salam and Hawa. This is amazing. Reflect on that. Look at the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at how He creates. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins with this. And then of course وَبَثَّ مِنْهُمَا رِجَالًا كَثِيرًا وَنِسَاءً, and he sent from them, the first pair, from them both, many men and women, many men and many women. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلَيْكُمْ رَقِيبًا. So, and be mindful of Allah, in whose name you appeal to one another and honor family ties. Surely Allah is ever watchful over you. So we'll go into the tafsir more of this inshallah next week. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here as an introduction that when you get married, you do it by the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your relations, blood relations, relatives, other contractual relations, often you conduct it in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A lot of people, when they sign business contract, Bismillah, then they sign it. Or anything they do that has to do with transactions between different people, often in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the same Allah is telling you, these are the huquq, these are the rights of those people that you're dealing with. So have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially around family ties, arham, those people who are related to you through your mother, through the raham, through the womb. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us to have taqwa of Allah when it comes to dealing with our relatives, family relations, relations of the womb, blood ties. And Allah reminds us that He is ever watchful over you. He watches everything, how we deal with our families, how we deal with our blood ties, own families, etc. So inshallah we'll continue with the tafsir of this ayah next week inshallah, but for today we'll stop here.